Welcome to episode 3 of the FAQ Business Podcast. And today we're delving into another of our pillars, businesses like you. But you may notice I don't have a guest with me today. Why is that? Because today the business like you is my business, FAQ Business Training. I'm going to get really real with you today. We're going to go behind the scenes into those deep, dark areas no one wants to talk about. And I'm going to let you know what really goes on behind the scenes when the cameras aren't rolling. Welcome to the FAQ Business Podcast for growing small to medium business owners who want to make a positive difference. The FAQ Business Podcast covers 4 key pillars: actionable education, inspiring leaders, businesses like you for relatability, and thought leadership, where we really challenge your thinking. It's hosted by myself, Jane Tweedy, founder and lead trainer of FAQ Business Training, where we want to avoid you getting ripped off or ripping yourself off because of what you don't know you don't know. We'll feature an amazing diversity of guests with lots to offer to educate and inspire you. So let's jump into today's episode of the FAQ Business Podcast. Welcome, I'm Jane Tweedy from FAQ Business Training, and today the business like you I'm going to talk about is my own. It started around 2017, and when I started it, it was initially as a sole trader. And it was alongside my day job as a Business Connect advisor, which was a New South Wales government-funded service. So I really had very little time to devote to it because it very much was a side gig. Due to demand and things started growing, but also I looked into a particular issue that is here in Australia, deemed employees versus contractors. And what I found is even doing 2 workshops a month, I could easily have been deemed to be an employee of anyone I worked for, and that wasn't really going to cut it. So I changed over to being a company to help protect them as well as to protect myself. I have multiple businesses under my company, FAQ Business Pty Limited, and under myself still as a sole trader. Over time, I will look to change and divest things, but in the meantime, I will keep things going. I have How to Job Search, which helps job seekers, and I typically do programs through councils and things for that one. And I have Business Action Networking, which is a networking group which has been on hold due to COVID, but will come back to life in 2022. But FAQ Business is really my main gig. So I have FAQ Business Training and FAQ Business Consulting. FAQ Business Training is what I produce FAQ Business Podcast under. Today, the way that things are going to run, I'm going to go over 10 things I did badly, and in some cases are still doing badly, because you can learn a lot from other people's mistakes. And let's face it, it's cheaper someone else makes a mistake than you do. There's definitely mistakes we need to learn from ourselves, but if we can learn some from other people, all the better. I also want you to realize that I am a business like you. I make mistakes. I'm far from perfect. Who isn't? And there is always some sort of chance for redemption at the end of it. So I'm going to run through the 10 problem areas, and then I'm going to highlight 10 things I think I do well, because we don't want to leave you on a flat note. We want to leave you lifted back up. So let's get kicked off today. Number 1 in my things I've done badly in business was overestimating my capabilities within a given time frame. My capabilities are there. I can certainly get things done, but can I get them done in the time frame I've kind of thought I can? Absolutely not. Something when I think it's going to take me 4 hours might actually take me 8 hours, especially when I'm not in a very productive mood. If I'm in a super productive mood, yes, I can probably knock that out in the time I thought I could. And this is something we'll talk about again a bit later. Overestimating our capabilities within a short time frame is a very common problem. We typically can achieve more, say over a year or 3 years than we think we can, but we can achieve a lot less in a day or a week than we think we can. Number 2 problem, not setting boundaries early enough. I really let people walk all over me for far too long. I answered too many just a quick questions that I really should have just said to the person, look, this is not really a quick question. How about you book a meeting? I really should have done that. Or done what I've done other times. I had one lady contact me on a Saturday night about 11:30, knowing I'd be up, and I was, knowing I'd to be working, and I was. Kind of sad, I know. But when she contacted me, she was having an issue with copycats. People were stealing her stuff off social media. And at the time I thought, okay, look, it's 11:30 at night. Although I'm working, I'm not working on client work. I'm working on stuff for me. So I said to her, how about I come back to you tomorrow? Which I did, but not in the way maybe I first intended. Initially, I was going to go back to her, but what it would have meant was probably 40 minutes of toing and froing on Messenger, like it happened many times before. Not necessarily with her, but just with customers in general, doing the just a quick questions. And I thought, right, what's a better, more effective way of me answering that question? So what I did instead was I wrote a blog, How to Handle Copycats. And that blog has been awesome. She loved it. She shared it on her social channels. And then every time it gets brought up in groups, I can share that post into that group and somebody else gets that love and that, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And there's always someone else following along that also sees it as well. So I'm picking up some good followers because of that. And everyone that reads that particular blog always goes, I love this. It has such great quality content. Quality content I wouldn't have had time for if I was too busy just interacting with the one customer. So think about that, setting those boundaries. So in that case, I still addressed her question. I just did it in a way that instead of being one-to-one, was a one-to-many approach, and I got the marketing benefit for it. So think about that when you're setting your boundaries. Number 3 problem. I was focusing, or probably lack of focusing, and I was trying to do it all instead of doing one thing really well. And I just refused to listen to people on this one. Everyone kept telling me, you've got to choose one thing. You've got to focus. You've got to focus. And I'm just ignoring them going, it's okay. You know, we're superstars. We can do everything we want to do, right? Well, we can, but just not all at the same time. Unfortunately, this is the one I really have learned the very hard way. I am still learning. I'm getting better at it. But by me focusing on trying to do everything at the same time, nothing got achieved. So is my online school up for how to job search? No. Is it up for FAQ business training? Yeah, kind of, but it's not really ready to go yet. That is not a good thing to do. I should have had both of those. I could have had both of those. When we remove that nasty word should, it's not a nice word, but I definitely could have had them up and running much more effectively and faster if I just allocated time and said, right, the next 3 months are allocated to this. The next 3 months after that are allocated to this. I would have got the things up and running. I would have had things happening. And instead, no, didn't. Been there, done that. Number 4 problem was letting my love of my business take over my life and my sleep. So those that know me might already know this, but I basically have a 2:30 a.m. curfew set on me by my partner. So what that means is I have to go to bed by 2:30 or otherwise I'm not welcome to share the bed with him. Fair enough, because he's a morning person, I'm a night person. So he's going to wake up. If I wake him up at that time, if I woke him up at 3:30, he's not going to get back to sleep because he typically wakes up at 5:30. Whereas I'm not a morning person, I wake up a bit later. It's been very frustrating, and it certainly can put stress and strain on your relationship, and it can certainly put stress and strain on your entire life and your health when you're not getting enough sleep. I know that it's contributing to me putting on weight and things and not being the healthiest, and it is something I definitely need to work on. So this is definitely not even a work in progress. This is a work not even started. I go to bed 6 nights a week at that 2:30 cutoff. Actually, no. I go to bed 4 or 5 nights a week at the 2:30 cutoff, one night earlier, and then the other night or two probably sleeping on the couch because I have missed curfew and stayed up later. Not good. But I love my business and it just doesn't even seem like work. So number 5 on the things not to do is to not practice what I preach enough. I actually have really good advice to give. I do really good training, but I just don't put a lot of it into action. Some of the things I definitely do, and we'll talk about that soon when I talk about the 10 good things, but there's a lot of things in the bad space, unfortunately. We're going to cover a couple of those soon. So number 6 is not keeping on top of the numbers. Okay, I'm going to shame to publicly admit this. My taxes are way behind. Like I'm talking years behind. So that is a really bad thing, and it's something I'm certainly not proud of. It is something that has come from a number of reasons. It's come through because I've had bad experiences doing it in the past. I've had bad experiences with the accountant, and it's one of those things I really just need to get it done, get it finished, and then I can move on and go to someone I actually trust to do a better job. It's been really frustrating. So every time I just even think about the tax, I just immediately just go, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a nightmare that I just don't do anything. So I've spent more time procrastinating about doing it than actually doing it. So my intention and what I suggest to everyone else to do is to have a dashboard of numbers and keep on top of them all the time. You should know where you're at and where you're positioned. And I roughly do. Like I do manage my bank account. I do put my GST and things in a separate account. I do, keep things segregated. So I at least know that it's there. But it is not ideal. Something to definitely improve for the future. Like I said, some of these things are things I've already done. And some of these things are things that are definitely still works in progress. Number 7 for things I suggest you don't do in business is giving too much and spending too much time and effort on people that are never going to pay. They're never going to be your clients. I completely advocate the inbound marketing methodology. So I completely advocate doing a lot at the free level, at the paid level for people, at low level paid levels. But making it crystal clear what the pathway is to payment and making it clear that, to get more, you actually need to pay. I have been very guilty of this. I've given too many people too much, and it is very hard to undo that because they just get so used to what they get that, they're not going to change, but then they're probably not my clients in the first place. So I really need to make sure that I focus more on the people that are genuinely my clients and that will genuinely pay. Number 8 is just giving too much time to other people and their agendas. Too many people come to me wanting something. I listen to them and I do things for them. Often it really achieves nothing for me. And I really just need to be stricter about that. So it does come into a couple of these categories about setting boundaries and doing too much for people that won't pay. But I really do need to be a bit more judicious about this, to really think harder about the people that I do collaborate with. When I do speak at events for free and things, that I do make sure that they're events I can genuinely see I have a customer base there that I could actually get future value out of that customer base. Or that I'm genuinely doing it with absolutely no expectation of return. The trouble is sometimes I think we do things expecting a bit of a return, and when we don't get them, we get frustrated. Not so much of the people not giving us that, but in ourselves. And that's where I'm at on that one. Number 9, failing to set clear and concise written goals and enforcing them. I teach people a lot about this. I do a lot on the business planning course. I do goal setting courses, all that sort of stuff. I know this stuff inside out. And I know when I do it, I have much better success. And recently I have been doing that. And I'd say I'm a little bit more reformed in this. So I am much more clear about what my goals are. Part of that is giving that priority to the tasks that I really want to do, having more clarity so that I can actually achieve more. So I need, again, to practice what I preach. So again, it's kind of overlapping areas, but specifically, I need to set these goals and make sure I've written them down and included accountability for them. Number 10, so my last one and my problem areas is that I failed to address a known productivity issue that I have and overcoming self-sabotage. So I'll kind of make that one broad topic. But I'll go back, for instance, many years ago, I worked for a place that literally I was hired. Before I even started, I was called in by the 2 people that hired me and told, we've just been made redundant. Probably shouldn't have taken that job if I'd really thought about it at the time. I took the job knowing that there was an issue. Unfortunately, it was just a nightmare of a job. It was, the people that were in the place were very slow, methodic, completely just not people that are me in the way that I operate. And I really struggled in that environment to be productive consistently. So what I tended to do was I tended to muck around most of the week, just do kind of bits and pieces, do a few meetings and stuff. On a Friday, I would kill it. So on a Friday, I would put out more productivity than the person I took over from would do in 2 weeks on one Friday. That was the problem. I could knock out what he did in 2 weeks. So the thing is, I looked like a legend, but I was like bored to tears, hated what I was doing. It was awful. I had that a bit of a productivity issue in that I know that I'm a bit all over the show. I can be super productive and get so much done in such a tiny amount of time. For instance, I can knock out a course, a brand new workshop from scratch overnight and deliver it the next morning and deliver it bang on 2 hours. And people are just like, what? Whereas I know that I can do that. And that is a bit of a failing in itself because I know that I can do that. And so I have kind of got into a habit of doing that at times, which is really bad. But part of the self-sabotage thing is that whole thing like of not doing the taxes. The same sort of thing along the learning side of it, because I love to learn. I learn every single day. Every single day I'm doing podcasts or videos or courses or structured learning every single day. But man, do I hate studying. I can't stand it. As soon as there's a word assessment, study, assignment in there, I'm just gone for the hills. Suddenly the pantry needs emptying. Suddenly, the floor needs mopping, whatever. There's always something to divert my attention. I have tried to address it. I have gone to various people. I have been coached on this numerous times, but I'm still self-sabotaging. I still spend more time procrastinating about doing it than doing it. And I've done this all my life. It's been, I can remember back at school doing the same thing. So it's really bad. I need to do something about it. After all that negativity and all those things, but I hope it's made you realize that I am a business like you. I am human like you. And I want you to realize that whenever you look at people, and particularly, some people, it would even put me on a pedestal. If you're going to put me on a pedestal, but then also know why I deserve to be there and why I don't. And for all those reasons I just said I don't, there's also a bunch of reasons why I also do. So let's look at the 10 things I think I've done well in business. The number one thing I've done is I've invested in myself. I haven't been afraid to buy courses, undertake further training and things like that. And at times I've looked into what other people have suggested, like when I did my professional certified coach with the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. At the time, I just happened to see this post on this lady's page who she had been looking at the exact same thing and she decided against it and basically did this, spiel about why it was completely unnecessary and blah, blah, blah. Although I agree that we can procrastinate learning is definitely a thing where we avoid doing what we should be doing by studying because it makes us sound like we're being good. That is definitely a thing. But in this particular thing, I really did want to do the coaching. I did want to learn a massive toolkit of things I could use. It helped me to build up a number of things I do. So that was investing in myself, and I 100%, it was the right thing for me. So it might not have been the right thing for this other lady, but it was the right thing for me. Number 2, keeping it real. I am very good at keeping it real. The fact that I'm doing this episode today and letting you in behind the scenes and telling you all these deep, dark secrets, I'm keeping it real. You can't argue that I'm not. I want people to understand that I do keep it real. I'm not going to give you the textbook version of things. I'm going to give you the real life version because you know what? Textbook doesn't work in the real world. And I've learned all the textbook stuff, but chuck that out the window. Try it and test it and make sure things work. So I definitely keep it real in everything I do in my life. Number 3, I do have a very clear overall direction and purpose. And I even have a personal mission as well as business mission statements for all of my businesses. And I very much do stick to my guns. So for instance, integrity is something that's super important to me. So when I went to a networking group and the guy gets up and he says, if you fill in this slip of paper and give us a 5-star review, I'm going to give you one back. And I was like, hell to the no, see you later. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, maybe he doesn't know that that's a really A, illegal thing, and B, morally, ethically wrong thing to do. I went up to him afterwards and I asked him about it. And he basically just said, we're about supporting small businesses and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not supporting small businesses. That is putting people that don't necessarily deserve to have a 5-star rating, getting a 5-star rating, which goes against all the people that deserve to get 5-star ratings, who maybe have had a bad experience with a customer or a competitor, badly rating them. So they don't have 5-star ratings for their business. And yet this dodgy person potentially does, because he knew nothing about my business. He knew nothing about whether I was good or bad. And he was going to give me a 5-star rating. That is just wrong, and wrong on so many levels. Number 4 of things I've done well, I have created clear messages about the businesses that I'm in and the type of person I am, and I don't waver from that. And that is something that I hold true. So just like the comment I made about the value of integrity, it is something that I really, put out there. Within my business, for FAQ business training, avoid people getting ripped off through what they don't know. That's kind of the core mission statement part of it, or part of the mission statement. But in addition to that, I have some other clear messages I put out there. I'm providing real world solutions to real world problems. I'm helping people who are doing it right, do it right. So these are the messages that I'd say over and over again, because I want people to get that. I want people to get that that is what I'm about. So if you're about ripping people off, don't even bother trying to come as a guest on my podcast or on my blog. No chance in hell, because I need you to understand that I want businesses that I genuinely believe in and I genuinely believe are in alignment. And if you're doing things that I don't agree with, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to collaborate with you. And that's super important. And like I said, I don't waver from that. It's not about the money. Left jobs numerous times to go to a lower paying job for the opportunities it brought to me, or because I was getting away from a particular environment. It's just not something I'll ever compromise. Number 5, I practice progression over perfection, and I am a reformed perfectionist. Being in banking and investment analytics and things, unfortunately, you have to be a perfectionist, really. You don't really have a choice. If you put that comma in the wrong spot, it can cause a little bit of a problem. We can be talking millions versus billions, like we're talking big numbers. And I have worked with big numbers many times in the billions. It is something I've had to learn to be a, really strong perfectionist and doing stuff like that. But realizing, if I'm putting something up on my website, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not a website designer. I don't have to make a perfect website. However, I want to make it a good website. And I want to then, once it's up, make changes and improvements to make it a great website. And that's what you've got to do. Remember, we can progress. So I've definitely been working on that. And I would call myself a reformed perfectionist. I am over the perfection thing, because you know what? You can't edit something if it's not up. It's just a simple fact. You can edit a document once you've started it. If you haven't started it, there's nothing to edit. Think about that with what you do. My number 6 thing I think I've done well, I'm truly generous with the time that I give to both my customers and the community. I really do. I make an effort. I give a lot away. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that I want to leave the world a better place, which is my number 7 point. I definitely believe that I am leaving the legacy that I want to leave. I definitely believe I'm working towards my personal mission, which is to help 1 million people succeed on their terms in their life or in their business, or in their career and their business more particularly. So that is something I strongly believe in. I don't see what the point is in being in this world if we're not going to do something awesome while we're here. Like, we're not just here to take up space and to destroy the environment. Surely there's more to the world than that. So I want to leave a legacy. And I think I'm on my way there. By doing these courses, these online school, by doing the podcast and things, That gives me the ability to reach more people and connect with more people and help more people. So I'm hoping, and I've had people that have literally had, one session with me or attended one workshop with me, or even one line I've said, and 2 years later, they've said to me, that one line, that was the thing that made all the difference, that pivoted in, that made them change direction, that made them focus. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that makes such a massive difference. And it is awesome. And that's what I want to continue doing, is leaving that legacy behind. So something definitely to do. Number 8, I do believe I am a person that leads rather than manages. I have recently brought on a new employee in my business, which I am going to be introducing shortly. For those of you who don't know her, I'm really about bringing people in, encouraging them to flourish, giving them the opportunities to either stay where they are and stay in their lane, or to go, you know what, I want to be bigger and better. I've given, for instance, my new employee the chance to either stay with the things that she's doing, or she can look in the future to potentially head up one of the businesses that I run. Or she could take over a particular lane. There's opportunities there for her. I have in the past, when I've led teams, been very much a person that was about giving credit where credit was due when the team did well, but taking the blame when the team did poorly, because ultimately I was in charge of them. But I never take credit for things I don't do. And it's the same thing when I'm sharing theories or ideas. I make sure that I share where they came from. I don't just stick it out there and pretend like maybe it came from me. It's like, no, it didn't. It came from X, Y, and Z. It is very important to me to inspire rather than to manage. The number 9 thing I think I've done really well is I've built everything from the ground up. And here I'm, talking about all my businesses. I have literally built every last little piece of them. I've also done this in my own life. So at 18, I left home, pretty much my 18th birthday, thereabouts. I left home and I went flatting with workmates that I worked with at Macca's. I was working at Macca's full-time, basically, to go through uni full-time. So even back then, I was already pushing the boundaries, doing a lot, and I love it. I love working hard and getting results. What that allowed me to do was at 23, I bought my first home with my then partner. We flipped that home 5 years later and bought another property, and we continued sort of flipping houses and things over there. So that obviously helped to build up me and my wealth and things. Everything I've done, everything I've achieved, I can take ownership for it. It's not a handout. And that is why in my businesses, in my ethos and the way that I think, I'm very much about giving people a hand up, not a handout. I didn't get handouts. I didn't need them. I made everything. I did everything. And I'm really proud of that. And it's certainly one of my biggest achievements. Number 10 on the things that I think I've done well is that I am an ideas person, but I'm an ideas person who can implement. I will come up with an idea. I will investigate it to the nth degree. I will analyze the hell out of it. I will investigate it. I will look at it. I will do it. I'll find out everything I need to know about it, and I will get that thing done. That doesn't mean I won't bring in people. I absolutely will. I'll bring in people and bring in assistants and stuff, but I make sure I know exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and get it done. That is awesome. So the fact that I've put a podcast together, I did this without anything. I had years ago, Tony Cosentino presented a WordCamp about podcasts. And I attended that session, took lots of notes and all that kind of thing. Then a podcast software came up on Ep003. I thought, oh, I definitely want to do this. I'll buy that for later. And then voila, here we are with a podcast. Things happen. I'll be asking my guests to do a productivity hack or a tech tip. So today my tech tip is something that I'm using right now, and that is called Krisp, K-R-I-S-P. Krisp is a wonderful technology tool that I use that I came across about a month or two ago, and it is saving me so much time on video editing and audio editing because it's giving me a pretty clean audio track to work with. It takes out the noises, so my computer fan is whirring away. My cat was wandering around a bit before. There's noises in the background. My partner's been coming and going in different rooms of the house. We're in lockdown still. So having a tool like Krisp is amazing. What it does is it removes the noise. It leaves a clean audio feed, which means that when I go to edit this later, it's going to make my life so much easier. If you are doing any video recording, online courses, webinars, or anything like that, where you want to sound clear, but you also want to be able to record and edit clear, please, I suggest you use it. There is a free version which has limited minutes, and there is a paid version which is very cheap, and I am also an affiliate for it, so you can buy it through me. Thank you so much for listening today to the FAQ Business Podcast, and I hope it gives you some inspiration into how you and your business are doing, how you can grow, and the fact that it's okay to make mistakes. Remember, fail is a first attempt in learning. It is okay to make failures. However, when we're repeating them over and over again, we kind of really need to get to the bottom of what's doing that. And sometimes it's really hard. As I said, there's a couple of things I still can't get to the bottom of, even though I've tried many different methods, worked with many coaches, I still can't get there. One day, maybe. Also remember that as long as we are learning from those mistakes and where possible, not making them again, learning something new to make a mistake with, then we've got this great opportunity to get ahead. And that is where I can see amazing things happening in the future for me and for FAQ Business Training and for all my customers and everyone that's listening in. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you again on FAQ Business Podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the FAQ Business Podcast, available on all good podcast services. You can subscribe today via faqbusinesspodcast.com.au or directly on Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. Subscribe, follow, share, and where able, review our podcast or leave us a comment on either YouTube or our blog page. Thanks for helping us to help you, the small to medium businesses who are growing and want to make a difference. Look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode of the FAQ Business Podcast.